Hey guys, tonight we climb aboard a creaking pirate vessel somewhere in the turquoise swell of the Caribbean. The wind is sharp with salt, the sails snap like cracking bones, and beneath your bare feet, the damp wooden planks seem to hum with stories far too old and far too tired to retell themselves. You're not a captain, not even a gunner. You're somewhere between random swab and poor soul stuck peeling barnacles. And while most pirate tales focus on buried treasure sabers and betrayal, your concern is more pressing. Your mouth tastes like old shrimp, and your gums feel like they're hosting a tavern brawl of their own. That's right, tonight isn't about battle or gold. It's about teeth. And trust me, you're going to wish it was about cannonballs. Because pirates may have been fierce on the high seas, but inside their mouths, it was nothing short of biological warfare. You blink against the wind and glance at the man next to you. He's missing at least 6 teeth, and the remaining few look like they've been charred over a campfire and then dipped in tar. He grins at you, and it's not comforting. Welcome to the open sea, where dental hygiene is less a practice and more a grim negotiation with pain, where the taste of iron in your gums might not be from your lunch, and a swollen jaw can end your week or your life. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, if you're watching from somewhere in the world where your teeth don't hurt right now, drop your location and local time in the comments. Makes this whole thing feel a little cozier, doesn't it? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've barely gotten through your morning mop duty when the first crack of pain hits. Right along the back, molar deep, acidic and stubborn as a barnacle. You mutter a curse under your breath, though of course you can't say anything too colorful. The quartermaster's right behind you, and the last sailor who complained about a toothache got assigned to rat-gutting duty. The pain grows worse, by the hour swelling in tiny invisible waves, like the tide beneath the hull. There's no dentist aboard, obviously. No quiet room with pastel posters and numb little buzzes. Just salt-air crude planks and the occasional rat skull swinging from the rigging as a deterrent for bad behavior. Your options limited. Chew on rope, rinse with rum, or let nature take its course, which is code for prepare for agony. The old-timers say the salt air helps. Something about brine being antiseptic. You're not sure that holds up, but you lean into the rail anyway, letting the wind slap your face, hoping the salt will seep into your gums and kill whatever's living there. Historians still argue whether pirates' exposure to sea salt actually slowed down tooth decay or just masked the smell until it was too late. Below deck, in the dim belly of the ship, someone groans. You can't tell if it's from seasickness or a bad bicuspid. Could be both. That's the thing out here, no one gets to be just sick. You're always sick and bruised sick and bitten sick and slowly losing parts of yourself. At dinner, if you can call it that, you crack your jaw, chewing on hardtack, a biscuit designed less for nutrition and more for shelf life. It's rock hard, filled with Weevil's extra protein, as the cook cheerfully points out, and practically designed to murder molars. You try soaking it in your mug of watered down beer. Doesn't help. The biscuit fights back. The crew's chatter tonight is mostly about weather and rations, but one old man, slurring slightly through what little teeth he has left, tells a story about a Spanish captain who died from a gum fever. You raise an eyebrow. He nods. Took him in 3 days. Started with a bit of bleeding. Then his teeth fell out one by one. Then the fever came. Looked like someone had boiled his face. He shrugs. Could happen to any of us. You swallow hard, and not just from the story. The truth is, back in the 18th century, most pirates were young. Mid-20s, sometimes younger. They didn't live long enough to need dentures. But that didn't mean their teeth weren't in trouble. In fact, most of them were in their 20s and already halfway to a toothless grin. There's something quietly horrifying about that being tough enough to fire a musket swing from ropes, win a knife fight in a storm, and still fall victim to something as small and stupid as a rotting tooth. That night, lying in your hammock as the ship rocks like a cradle built by a drunk carpenter, your jaw pulses, dull, rhythmic. Every swing of the hammock matches the throb in your gum. You try to sleep, you really do. But in your dream, you're chewing on coral. And when you wake, you're bleeding. Welcome to the sea. You drag yourself upright, spitting a bit of blood onto the floorboards and wiping your mouth with the back of your sleeve. It's still dark below deck, but the steady groan of the ship and the occasional scurry of rats tell you the morning watch isn't far off. Your tongue probes the sore spot. It's tender, puffy, and feels twice its size. If you had a mirror, you'd look, but honestly, maybe it's better not to know. You shuffle above deck, past hammocks swaying like bodies in the gallows, and into the soft pink light of dawn. The air is already hot and salty, and it coats your skin like fish slime. You lean against the railing and sigh. Around you, half-awake pirates stretch, scratch, and yawn their way into another day of pretending to ignore their worsening dental disasters. Toothbrushes. Yeah, not really a thing out here. You think for a second, trying to remember if you've even seen anything close to a toothbrush on board. There's a rat tail brush that gets used to scrub powder from musket barrels, but that's about it. No soft bristles, no minty foam, no cheerful dentist telling you to brush in circles. Just you, your bad breath, and some increasingly desperate improvisation. Some of the older pirates chew on bits of rope, really. They say the fibers help scrape off plaque. You watch one of them now gnawing like an anxious dog. He spits a splinter and shrugs at you. Keeps the green off, he mutters. Historians still debate whether these rope-chewing habits were learned behaviors passed among seafarers or just instinctual acts of desperation. Either way, it's not terribly effective. Rope fibers might scrub a little, but they can't undo months of hardtack, bad rum, and vitamin C deficiency. Then there's the toothpicks. Not the elegant kind you might get at a fancy inn with a slice of orange. No, these are bone splinters, bits of broken rigging, slivers of whittled wood. One guy, let's call him Greasy Tom, uses the tip of his knife. Every day, you've seen him jab it into the gaps between his teeth with a casual flick, like someone popping seeds out of a pomegranate. This morning, though, he's bleeding. A thin line of crimson running down his chin. He doesn't stop, just wipes it with his sleeve and keeps digging. He sees you staring. Can't let the rot win, he says, grinning with half his teeth. The rot. That's what everyone calls it, like it's some creeping, intelligent force. And in a way it is. Once it gets into a tooth, it can spread quietly and visibly. One day it's just a twinge. Next week, it's your whole cheek on fire. Next month, it's an infection that could kill you. You think about trying to clean your mouth today. You don't have many options, but you scavenge a bit of stiff cloth and wrap it around your finger. There's no paste, of course, but you saw someone use ashes yesterday. You find the fireplace near the galley, Now just warm gray embers and scoop up a pinch. Back at the railing, you dip your cloth in the ash and rub your teeth, grimacing at the gritty texture and bitter flavor. It tastes like old metal and burnt soup bones, but afterward your mouth does feel cleaner, or maybe just more raw. You spit and rinse with a swig of water from your flask. It tastes faintly of mold. Across the deck, a few other pirates are doing their own strange rituals. One man is chewing on a stick of licorice root, rare but sometimes found in port. Another is rubbing something against his gums. You squint. Is that coal? Turns out, yes. He's rubbing charcoal across his teeth, muttering to himself. Supposedly it helps whiten. You make a mental note not to take medical advice from a man who thinks rats whisper secrets. As the sun climbs higher, you pass by a cluster of men playing dice. One of them pulls a tooth mid-game, barely flinching. It's not bravery, it's necessity. The tooth was loose and stinking. Better out than in. You look away before your own stomach rebels. Midday heat descends like a wet blanket. The tar on the deck softens, and the sails sag in lazy curves. You lie in the shadow of a cannon and try to nap your jaw, throbbing in sync with your heartbeat. Around you, others sleep, snore, or mumble through dreams. You drift for a bit until the sudden crack of laughter snaps you awake. It's greasy Tom again, showing off a trick he uses, a fishbone, as a flossing tool. See, he says proudly, multi-purpose. You don't ask what kind of fish. Back in port cities, toothbrushes did exist, you know. Some were made with horsehair bristles set into bone or wood handles. Expensive, sure, but not impossible to come by, so why didn't pirates have them? Partly because no one wanted to spend money on something that couldn't fight, cook, or steer. A toothbrush wouldn't help in a sword fight. It didn't barter well. And honestly, half the men wouldn't have known what to do with one if they had it. Still, the idea lingers. Maybe if you make it back to land, you'll try to find one. Or a lemon. Or even a dentist. But right now, the sun is starting to set and you have another night shift. You rinse your mouth again with stale beer, spit overboard, and hope tomorrow you wake up with all your teeth still in your head. Fingers crossed. The next morning begins with the sound of retching. Not yours, thankfully, but someone a few hammocks over. Judging by the moans and gurgles, it's not seasickness. More like a combination of fever infection and the slow death rattle of a back molar gone rogue. You lie still staring up at the planks above you and wonder if anyone's ever died from something as small as a tooth. Then you remember, yes, they have. You've seen it. Above deck, the sun is already blazing and the crew is restless. The water barrel smells faintly green, and breakfast is the usual mix of salted meat, biscuit shards, and disappointment. Your teeth ache just looking at it. You fish out a piece of the hardtack and give it a cautious tap against the railing. It clicks like ceramic. You break off a chunk and suck on it, hoping to soften it a bit. No dice. Every bite is a gamble. You're one crack away from a trip to the makeshift infirmary, aka a shadowy corner below deck, where someone holds you down while someone else gets creative with sharp metal. Later you spot one of the galley boys, hunched over a barrel near the fire. He's grinding something between two stones, muttering under his breath. You wander over curiosity outweighing caution. What's that, you ask? Tooth powder? He grunts, not looking up. For the captain? You blink. Tooth what? Tooth powder. He repeats more slowly this time, as if you're a slow-witted parrot. Burnt bread chalk bones. Captain uses it every Sunday. Says it keeps the rot off. You nod slowly. It looks more like ash than medicine, but The captain does have most of his teeth, and they're weirdly white now that you think about it. Maybe this dusty mess actually works. Tooth powder, not paste. That's what they used before Colgate came along. Pirates, those with a sliver of vanity or a captain's pride, might have ground up burned bread crusts or crushed animal bones to create a gritty homemade scrub. Add in a bit of charcoal for that dark sparkle and some dried mint leaves, if you're lucky enough to have them. Historians still argue whether the abrasiveness did more harm than good, scrubbing away enamel along with the grime. You squat next to the boy, watching the powder pile up. He adds a bit of water, just enough to make it clump. Too much and it goes sludgy. He mutters not enough, and it's like chewing sand. You glance at his teeth, yellowed, but all present. Maybe he knows what he's doing. You ask to try a bit. He shrugs and hands you a small lump, wrapped in parchment. You retreat to the side of the ship, unwrap it, and sniff. Burned, bitter, and something faintly bony. You rub some on your cloth-wrapped finger and start scrubbing your teeth. It tastes like fireplace ash and old soup bones. Not good, not bad, just strange. But afterward, your mouth actually feels fresher. Or maybe it's the placebo effect. Either way, you'll take it. Across the deck, a few others notice. Soon there's a small line forming near the galley. Tooth powder suddenly becomes the hottest commodity since salted pork. You stash your lump in a knot of your shirt and make a note to guard it like treasure. That evening, as the sun bleeds orange across the waves, you sit with a few others under the sailcloth and swap dental horror stories. One man swears his brother once lost all his top teeth in a single bite of bad fish. Another claims he bit into a musket ball by accident and chipped 3 molars. Still won the duel, though, he adds proudly. You laugh, careful not to jostle your sore tooth. Someone passes around a pouch of dried clove, a rare treat. Chewing cloves was an old trick to numb pain and freshen breath used in India for centuries. Pirates occasionally picked up the habit, especially those who'd spent time in eastern ports. You chew one slowly. It burns a bit, then fades to a mellow warmth. For a while, your mouth stops throbbing. The piece is short-lived. A sudden cry goes up. One of the riggers is clutching his jaw, eyes wide with panic. Blood dribbles from between his fingers. 2 men rush to hold him steady. A third emerges from below with something glinting in the fading light. A set of iron tongs. Tooth removal, pirate style. You don't stay to watch. You've seen enough. Back in your hammock, you run your tongue along your teeth again. Still there, still aching. But maybe the powder will help, maybe the cloves, maybe the ash, maybe nothing at all. Still in the silence before sleep, you find a strange comfort in the ritual of it, the chewing, the scrubbing, the shared misery. Pirates didn't have much, but at least they had each other. And a weird kind of oral hygiene system if you squint hard enough. Tomorrow you'll ask the galley boy for more powder. Maybe you'll survive this after all. By the time the sun claws its way back above the horizon, your mouth has settled into a dull, constant ache, no worse than usual, which somehow qualifies as a win. You drag yourself to the deck, rubbing your jaw as you pass a sleeping crewmate with an open mouth full of yellow teeth and one very angry red hole. Probably lost that one to the biscuit again. You've made a decision. No more chewing hardtack. Not today. Your plan, soak it. For hours if necessary. Maybe even pound it into mush with a mallet. Anything to avoid the splintering agony of another sharp crack in your molars. But before breakfast, you notice something peculiar Over by the water barrel, a couple of pirates are gathered around a stump. One of them is holding a small dagger, dull, rusty, and way too close to another man's open mouth. You squint. Are they cleaning his teeth? Apparently, yes. You inch closer, trying to act casual like you're admiring the sunrise or whatever. But it's hard to ignore the spectacle. One pirate sits grimacing with his mouth wide open while another delicately scrapes at his teeth with the tip of his blade. Got to dig out the meat bits, the pirate explains, not even glancing up. Else it festers. That's one word for it. You've heard about this method before, mostly in horrified whispers. When no better tools were available, some pirates used their daggers, fish hooks, or even sail needles to dig out rotting food particles from between their teeth. One wrong move, and you're slicing your gum open. But the alternative, leaving food to rot in your mouth, could lead to ulcers, abscesses, or worse. Historians still argue whether this was common practice or just one of those extreme fringe behaviors pirates developed in desperation. Either way, it's happening in front of you, and it's undeniably effective, if terrifying. When the cleaning is done, the dentist wipes the blade on his pants, takes a swig of something foul smelling from a flask, and gestures to the next patient. You back away before someone volunteers you. Back at the railing, you rinse your mouth with a bit of rum from your own stash. Not because it helps really, but because it numbs the tongue for a few precious minutes. Pirates didn't have access to antiseptics, so they used what they had: alcohol, rum gin, sometimes even vinegar, if they were desperate enough. The rum burns. Your gums tingle, then settle into a fuzzy throb. You try not to think about how that fuzzy feeling might be masking something far worse beneath. Later, while sorting rope with a crewmate known only as Stumpy Pete, who funnily enough still has all his teeth, you hear another trick. Pete swears by fishbones. Sharp ones, he says, holding one up like a toothpick. Just enough flex. Better than dagger tips. You nod like this is normal, but inwardly you're making a list. Burn bread for powder chew, cloves for pain, swish, rum for numbing, maybe dig with fish bones if you're feeling brave. That evening you find yourself over the side of the ship with your mouth open, letting the sea spray hit your face like a salty mist of questionable hygiene. The superstition goes that salt water heals, that the sea, ever ancient and restless, knows how to fix a sailor's broken parts, including his gums. You hold that thought close as you scrape at your molars with a sliver of bone and try not to gag. There's a camaraderie to all this in a twisted way. Pirates weren't known for their hygiene true, but they were known for adapting, for turning scrap into strategy, for facing storms and infections with the same dull-eyed stubbornness. It makes sense in a way that they would apply that same attitude to dental care, not because they wanted to look good, but because rotten teeth hurt badly, and pain slows you down. If you can't chew, you can't eat. If you can't eat, you're weak. And weakness gets you thrown overboard faster than you can say gingivitis. You pass a man who's biting into a bit of lemon peel, his private stash. He nods respectfully. You envy him. Lemons were gold on these ships, not just for their taste, but for their ability to fend off scurvy. Vitamin C was the real savior of the sea. Without it, your gums bled, your teeth loosened, and your breath could knock out a goat. You consider asking him for a peel, just a nibble, but he clutches it tighter and turns away. Understandable. That night, someone on the crew tries singing to distract from another back alley dental operation. You hear a scream, a clang, and then laughter, raucous, half-mad laughter. It echoes into the dark like waves lapping against your bones. You roll over in your hammock, wrapping your shirt over your head. The salt in your mouth is drying. Your gums pulse with low-level rebellion. But your mind floats somewhere between pain and peace. You survived another day. Tomorrow maybe you'll find a lemon. The following morning greets you not with sunlight, but with the unmistakable sound of someone trying and failing to chew breakfast. You open one eye and see a man across the deck, glaring at his biscuit as though it personally insulted his lineage. He attempts another bite, then tosses the chunk of hardtack overboard with a curse. You sit up slowly. Your mouth feels like it's packed with cotton soaked in salt. You rub your jaw and glance around. No screaming yet, which usually means no surprise extractions before noon. A good sign. You trudge toward the food crate, where a small handful of biscuits await like little bricks of despair. You grab one sigh and immediately drop it into a bucket of water. You've learned. Let it soak. Let it soften. Let your teeth survive. Someone chuckles beside you. Smart says, a wiry deckhand you only know as fingers. Back when I first signed on, I cracked a molar right in half on one of those. Felt like a musket ball exploded in my skull. Still hurts, nah. Tooth's gone now. Left the ship in a cup of rum, he says, grinning. You raise an eyebrow. You keep it. He shrugs. What else was I going to do? Toss it to the gulls. There's an odd reverence in his voice, like the tooth was a war trophy. And maybe it was. You look around at the other men. Some are missing several teeth. Others chew slowly, cautiously, as if their mouths were filled with glass. One poor soul in the corner appears to be gumming his food into submission, lacking the dental fortitude to bite altogether. And that's when you realize something. This ship is a floating graveyard for teeth. Pirates didn't eat fresh food, not often. Most of what you get is preserved with salt or dried into oblivion. Meat is jerky, hard, bread is fossilized, and vegetables are a fond green memory. The longer the voyage, the worse it gets. No vitamins, no fiber, no soft textures. Just endless chewing on concrete disguised as food. Historians agree that a major contributor to the infamous pirate scurvy epidemic was precisely this diet. And it wasn't just scurvy causing gums to bleed and teeth to fall out, malnutrition in general. Wreaked havoc on the mouth. But you already knew that. You felt it. Later, during sail repair duty, you overhear the quartermaster complaining about the latest rations. Apparently the barrels of salted pork have begun to ferment again. You watch him pry one open with a crowbar, the sour stench wafting across the deck like a physical slap. You see a rat leap out of the barrel and scurry away. No one even bothers to chase it. You chew a bit of dried fish instead. It's tough but manageable, especially if you soak it in beer. Across from you, someone sprinkles vinegar on their meal. Doesn't help the taste, but they swear it keeps the tongue from going black. The tongue going black is not something you needed to worry about today, but congratulations, now it's on the list. You think back to home if you even remember what that is, and the idea of soft bread, fresh apples, something warm and gentle against the teeth. Out here, gentle is a word no one says. Everything is briny, blistering, and hard. As you rest for a moment beneath the shade of a sagging sail, a few crewmates gather around the water barrel whispering. One of them pulls out a lemon. An actual lemon. You're stunned. It gleams in the sunlight like treasure. One man slices it into wedges. Another offers up a piece of dried fish to trade for a segment. There's quiet reverence as the citrus is divided. You watch a man suck on his wedge, eyes closed in pleasure. You can almost hear his gums cheering. You don't even need to taste it to know what it does. Lemons loaded with vitamin C were one of the few true defenses against scurvy and dental collapse. Just a few bites a week could mean the difference between bloody gums and healthy smiles. But lemons were rare, hard to store, easy to hoard, and expensive, which meant that pirates who weren't exactly flush with funding rarely had access unless they raided a ship that carried them or made a special effort to steal or smuggle citrus from port towns. Historians still argue whether pirates fully understood the connection between lemons and scurvy prevention, or whether they just noticed the pattern and leaned into it instinctively. You make a mental note to watch where that lemon came from. If more appear, you might need to get creative, offer powder rum, or even some of your precious clove. That night you dream you're back in port biting into a lemon like it's an apple. The juice runs down your chin, your teeth feel stronger, cleaner, untouched by salt or decay. You wake up chewing your shirt. It tastes like rope and regret. By midday the sun hangs like a searing coin over the mast, and the deck is hot enough to cook a crab. You've wrapped a damp rag around your head, pirate style, not to look intimidating, but to keep the sweat out of your eyes. Your mouth feels like a dusty cupboard. You take a swig from your canteen, lukewarm, slightly tinny water, and try not to gag. The lemon sighting from yesterday still lingers in your mind. One of the men, the navigator, you think, had tucked a peel into the lining of his shirt, like a sacred relic. Rumor spreads faster than scurvy. Someone in the last raid pocketed a small sack of citrus from a merchant vessel. Not gold, not rum, not weapons. Lemons. A smart man. Lemons fetch more than coins among pirates who know the agony of bleeding gums and teeth loosening in their sockets. You overhear whispers of barter 1 lemon wedge for half a flask of grog, 2 wedges for a full pouch of cloves. Someone even offers their boots, and suddenly you're thinking like a citrus economist. Because out here, vitamin C isn't just medicine, it's currency. You manage to track down the lemon man, a wiry fellow with a crooked nose and surprisingly intact teeth. His name's Bander, and he's already swarmed by pirates pitching trades. You wait your turn and offer your tooth powder stash complete with parchment wrap. He sniffs it, nods. A deal is struck. Later in the shadow of the sails, you press that tiny lemon wedge between your gums and cheek. The juice stings, then soothes. Your body almost sighs in relief. The flavor is sharp electric. Your mouth feels alive, clean, at least for a moment. You wonder if your last good tooth just clapped in applause. Historians still argue whether pirates organized black market exchanges specifically for citrus goods, or if these were just spontaneous acts of desperation among desperate men. Either way, the barter system afloat these ships wasn't just about food, it was survival. That night, Bander tells a story. He swears it's true, but then again, so does every sailor telling you something insane under starlight. He claims that in Havana, there's a tavern where you can trade 2 limes for an entire bottle of tooth tonic, brewed by a former surgeon from King George's Navy. Supposedly, the stuff foams in your mouth and scrapes away years of rot in seconds. Someone laughs, sounds like witchcraft. Bander grins, revealing his pearly whites. Witchcraft's better than tooth rot. It gets you thinking. The pirate world is full of weird economies. Somewhere lemons are gold. Somewhere else a pinch of clove is a king's ransom. And somewhere even stranger, someone's getting rich selling mythical tooth potions. But here on your creaking vessel, lost in the blue wilderness, you settle for citrus and call it fortune. The next morning, the lemon wedge's magic has faded, but you feel slightly better. A little less tender in the gums. You chew your biscuit without weeping. Progress. You offer some lemon juice, squeezed onto a hardtack corner, to the man who sleeps below you in the hammocks. He has no teeth left, but still tries to gum the biscuit. He smiles yellow and pink and thanks you. The way he says it, it feels more like a blessing. You've officially become part of the underground citrus economy. Not exactly the swashbuckling fantasy you imagined when you signed on for sea life, but hey, survival's never glamorous. By late afternoon, word comes from the quarterdeck. Another merchant ship spotted sails on the horizon. Excitement bubbles across the deck. Everyone's thinking the same thing, not treasure, not weapons, not even fresh water. They're thinking, what if it's got fruit? Pirates didn't just steal gold. They stole cargo. And often the most valuable thing in that cargo wasn't shiny, it was perishable. Oranges, lemons, even barrels of vinegar if they were lucky. In some circles, pirates developed reputations as citrus raiders. You glance around. The men are sharpening cutlasses, checking pistols, tying sashes tighter. But more than one is already planning what they'll trade for a slice of orange. Not because they crave flavor, because they crave relief. The pursuit lasts until dusk. When the other ship veers into a narrow reef passage, your vessel can't safely follow. The captain curses and half the crew groans, not at the lost bounty, but at the thought of another week without fruit. Back on the main deck, the cook announces dinner, pickled fish and boiled barley. You sigh, grip your spoon, and remind your teeth to be brave. That night, as the waves rock the ship, and someone somewhere hums a lullaby in a language you don't know, you roll the lemon peel between your fingers like a prayer bead. It's dry now, brittle, but you can still smell the ghost of its promise. You tuck it under your shirt like a talisman, just in case. The sea is calm the next morning, unnaturally calm, like it's holding its breath. The sky stretches pale and colorless above the masts, and every creak of the ship seems louder in the silence. You step onto the deck and sense it immediately. Something's coming. A storm, maybe. Or worse, dental trouble. You rub your jaw, which has started to pulse again, dull but persistent. It's not as bad as it was a few days ago, but it's creeping back. That familiar ache behind the molars, like something rotten is nesting there. You consider the lemon peel in your shirt, still tucked safely under the lining, now more charm than medicine. Its juice is long gone, but it comforts you to keep it close. A reminder that you're trying, however weird this hygiene journey has become. Mid-morning, you're on barrel rotation duty, hauling, checking, tasting. You're tapping a small keg when you hear shouting. Not angry shouting, excited, triumphant. You turn and spot a sailor running up from the lower hold, clutching something. A bottle. He waves it like a trophy. Vinegar, he cries. 4 bottles stashed behind the rum casks. The crew gathers like flies on fruit. You push in with the rest and watch as he uncorks one and takes a deep swig. He doesn't even flinch. It smells sharp, sour, and potent. Not exactly refreshing, but familiar. Vinegar was a common shipboard staple used to clean barrels fresh in water and surprisingly clean teeth. It's acidic, yes, but when diluted, it was believed to disinfect the mouth, wash away rot, and even tighten the gums. Historians debate how effective vinegar actually was as a dental rinse. Some argue it did more harm than good, stripping enamel and burning tissue. Others suggest that any cleaning agent, even a crude one, was better than nothing. You decide to try it. The cook doles out small rations in tin cups. You take a cautious sip and nearly choke. It's like drinking a pickled dagger. Your eyes water, your teeth ache. But after the burn, there's a certain clarity in your mouth, like something alive just got evicted. You swish, you spit, you breathe through your mouth like you've just eaten an entire salad, soaked in regret. Still, your gums feel a little tighter. Maybe it's the acidity. Maybe it's adrenaline. Later that afternoon, you catch sight of Greasy Tom again, now swirling vinegar in his cup, like fine wine. Better than that bilge water you drink, he says, offering you a nod of approval. And just like that, vinegar becomes the new ritual. By evening, half the crew is doing it. Some swish it. Others gargle. One particularly bold soul soaks a bit of rope in vinegar and uses it to floss. An act of devotion or desperation, you're not sure. You join in, of course, can't be left behind on the hygiene bandwagon, especially when your jaw still throbs like a tribal drumbeat. Besides, if you don't keep up with these strange little rituals, you'll fall behind. And on a pirate ship behind is where the pain lives. Dinner is boiled beans and seaweed. You pretend it's soup. Afterward, you swish with vinegar and watch as another man tries it for the first time. He yelps and drops his cup. The crew laughs. Someone jokes, that'll kill anything hiding in your mouth or your soul. It's oddly reassuring, this shared misery. Dental care pirate style isn't private, it's communal. Loud, slightly horrifying. But it's survival, and out here, that's a kind of religion. That night the wind starts to pick up. The storm you sensed in the morning has finally arrived. Rain lashes the deck. Sails whip like torn flags. You're soaked in minutes clinging to the rigging, helping tie down anything that isn't nailed. And of course, in the middle of it all, your tooth flares up. Because why not? You groan, nearly losing your grip as the ship bucks beneath you. You shout something into the wind, unclear whether it's a prayer or a curse, and power through. Storms are bad enough without mouth pain. With it, they're biblical. After hours of chaos, the storm passes. Just like that, the sea exhales, the rain slows. The sails hang limp and heavy, and the crew slumps where they stand. You stumble below deck, soaked teeth, chattering not from cold but from pain. You fumble for your vinegar cup and take another swig. The burn feels personal now, like it's punishing you for surviving. But the ache fades slowly. You curl into your hammock, the scent of vinegar in your nose and lemon on your shirt, and listen to the sound of the sea trying to lull you back to sleep. Tomorrow maybe the pain will leave for good, or maybe you'll just learn to live with it. You wake to silence, the rare kind, like the ship is afraid to breathe. No shouting, no boots clattering above deck. Just the soft creak of wood and the gentle slap of waves. For a moment it's almost peaceful, until you yawn. A sharp jolt zings through your jaw, like a musket shot. Yep, the tooth is still there, and it's angrier than ever. You swing out of your hammock and stagger to your feet, jaw clenched, already planning your next move. Vinegar helped a little lemon even more, but now the pain has a pulse. You need something stronger. As you grope around for your boots, you hear a low moan from the next row of hammocks. Someone's having a worse morning. You peek around and see a man sitting hunched, holding his cheek, rocking slightly. His name's Barker. Big guy. Usually louder than a cannon. Now he looks like a child who's lost his favorite toy. Hurts, you ask quietly. He nods, eyes bloodshot. It's the root. I can feel it. The words send a shiver down your spine. You've heard about this when a tooth dies but doesn't let go. It festers, builds pressure, and eventually it erupts. You sit beside him, unsure what comfort you can offer. But this ship's got its own version of a remedy, and it's terrifying. Tooth keys. Someone whispers the words, and the name alone makes everyone nearby wince. Moments later, a crewmate jogs off toward the captain's quarters and returns with a small leather pouch. From it he pulls a strange instrument, short-curved, with a claw-like head. A genuine 18th century dental tool, the tooth key. It looks more like something used to torture information out of prisoners, and in a way that's not far off. Tooth keys were real. They were used to grasp rotten teeth and twist them out quick and brutal. A fast jerk of the wrist, and the tooth might come free, or it might shatter. Historians still argue whether these tools saved more lives than they ended, but one thing is clear: they were the best bad option. Barker doesn't resist. He just leans back, opens his mouth, and grips the arms of the chair. The crew circles around like it's a show. One man holds a rag for the blood. Another holds Barker's shoulders. You don't watch the whole thing, you can't, but you hear it. The crack, the muffled scream, the wet thunk of tooth meeting deck. Then silence. You peek over. Barker's breathing fast, eyes watering, mouth bloody. But he's still upright, still breathing. And the pain gone. He lifts his head slowly, spit running down his chin. Feels better. He rasps. The tooth key is cleaned with a splash of rum and returned to its pouch. No applause, just a strange respect. You can't help but stare at the tooth, a cracked yellow thing with dark streaks and a ragged root. You wonder how close you are to needing that same treatment. Later, as the sun rises higher and the ship starts its daily hum, Barker is asleep on a pile of ropes, snoring through the gap in his smile. You keep your distance, half out of respect, half out of fear that your turn might come soon. But you're not quite ready to meet the tooth key. Not yet, so you double down on every pirate ritual you've learned. Rinse with vinegar scrub with ash. Chew cloves like they're candy and whisper silent thanks to your shriveled lemon peel. You even try Greasy Tom's trick scraping with a fishbone. It hurts, but after a while you swear the ache dulls just slightly. You spend part of the afternoon watching a younger crewmate try to invent his own mouth-cleaning device. He's tied 2 musket wicks together and dipped them in rum, then sticks them between his teeth and drags them back and forth like floss. It's inventive, and also mildly insane, but he's proud of it. Call it the string swipe, he says, with a grin. You nod solemnly. You'll be famous in the Royal Navy. He shrugs. Better than nothing. And that's the heart of it, isn't it? Every method, every attempt, every strange tool, it's all better than nothing. Out here, nothing is what gets you killed. That night you lie awake longer than usual. Not from pain, though it still simmers, but from nerves. You can't shake the image of the tooth key. That glint of rust, that sound. You make yourself a promise you'll try everything else first. Because once that key comes out of its pouch, you're not the same sailor after. You're halfway out of sleep, when the dull throb behind your back molar reminds you that yes, your mouth still hates you. The pain has settled into a rhythm now. It's no longer a screaming, urgent kind of hurt, but a low pulsing reminder that something inside your jaw is slowly dying. You lie in the hammock, letting the ship sway gently beneath you, and keep your eyes closed for a moment longer, pretending you don't have to get up and face it. But you do. So you rise. The deck is quiet this morning. Quiet always feels suspicious on a pirate ship. It means either something's broken or someone is. The air smells like salt mildew and old ropes soaked in fish guts. You stretch your neck, open your jaw cautiously, and wince. It's definitely worse today. The rot is marching inward, slow and patient. You grab your cloth-wrapped kit from where it hangs by a nail next to your hammock. It's become your morning companion, more reliable than breakfast, more necessary than prayer. Inside your tools, the smoothed fishbone you use for scraping a bit of frayed sail thread, for flossing a tiny scoop of burned biscuit and crushed coal for tooth powder, and a scrap of lemon peel, so dried it now feels like snakeskin, all tucked into a pouch that used to hold tobacco. You climb to the upper deck and claim your usual spot near the aft railing facing the morning sun as it cracks across the horizon like a runny egg. The wind is light, the sea nearly still. You unwrap your kit and begin. First comes the bone. You press it between your back teeth and scrape side to side, feeling grit lift away. It's oddly satisfying until it isn't. You hit a raw patch and a shock of pain shoots through your temple like a musket flash. You pause, breathe, steady your hand, then you keep going. That's the rule out here. Pause if you must, but never stop. You spit overboard yellowish with a streak of blood. Not ideal, but not uncommon. Next is the sail thread. You loop it between your fingers and pull it between your front teeth, sliding gently. It snags on something soft, maybe meat from yesterday's stew or the edge of a dying gum line. You don't look too closely, you spit again. Salt wind hits your face. Behind you, a few other crewmates are doing the same. It's become a kind of unspoken morning routine. Among the half-toothed, everyone has their own method, their own flavor of madness. One man chews cloves like candy. Another dips a frayed rope in vinegar and rubs it along his gums. The newest recruit uses a chicken feather which he claims tickles away the pain. You're not buying that. Someone nearby is humming a slow, tuneless drone that matches the rhythm of his flossing. The sound is oddly calming. Now comes the powder. You dip your cloth in the mixture, wrap it around your finger, and scrub hard. Your gums tingle, then burn. You've gotten used to the taste ash charcoal biscuit crumbs. It's like chewing dirt, but it leaves your mouth feeling just a little less like a graveyard. Finally, the lemon peel. You place it against the sorest spot and press your cheek inward. The dried skin is brittle, but there's still a whisper of citrus oil left in it. The sting is brief, like a slap from someone who means well. You hold it there for as long as you can stand, then tuck it back into your pouch, like a sacred relic. By the time the rest of the crew is up and about, you feel slightly more human. Your jaw still aches, but at least your teeth aren't clacking like loose coins in a tin cup. Breakfast is a limp affair. Pickled cabbage, a few hard crumbs of biscuit, and dried fish that smells like it's been through several lifetimes already. You skip the biscuit. Last time you tried to eat one dry, you nearly cracked a tooth in half. Instead, you soak it in grog until it becomes mush, then swallow it whole. Across the deck, someone coughs wetly and spits into a tin mug. The crew is quieter today. There's a tension in the air, and it isn't from the weather. It's from the box. They brought it out this morning. You glance at it from across the deck, small, iron-clasped, ominous. The tooth key box. You've seen it before, but it never gets easier. It only comes out when someone can't take it anymore. And today it's Sanchez. He's a big man, loud, fast with a knife. Not someone you'd expect to see, whimpering in a chair with his head in his hands. But that's what pain does. It eats through pride faster than rum, through a thin gut. They lift the lid and pull out the key. It's awful. Heavy, short, and shaped like something designed to pry souls out of skulls. One crewman holds Sanchez down while another places the clawed end over the offending molar. There's a pause, then the twist. You hear it. A crunch. A snap. Then a sound you can't quite name, a mix between a scream and a breath that doesn't want to leave the body. When it's done, Sanchez slumps. Pale, bloody, but alive. The key is wiped clean and placed back in the box. You turn away and walk to the far side of the ship. You spit again. Just water and powder this time. No blood. Not yet. That night, after the sun has dipped below the waves and the ship has gone quiet, you sit near your hammock and run a finger along your gum line. It's sore, throbbing, but the tooth is still in. You haven't joined the others in that slow line toward the box. Not yet. You tuck the lemon peel under your tongue and lie back, rocking gently with the ship. Above you, the sails ripple softly like breathing lungs. You close your eyes and whisper one more time. Not tonight. Not the tooth key. Not yet. You wake before the others again, habit now born. Not from discipline, but from dread. The pain in your jaw is quieter today, like a storm that's pulled back just far enough to let you breathe. But you don't trust it. That's the thing about teeth on a pirate ship. They don't forgive. They retreat, regroup, and return harder the next time. You slip your feet into cracked shoes, sling your kit over one shoulder, and climb quietly to the upper deck where the sky is just beginning to lighten, casting the rigging in soft gray shadows. You lean against the railing and take a moment to just stand there, letting the wind blow over your face. Then methodically you begin the morning ritual. Scrape first. The fishbone feels smooth in your hand, warm from your palm. You slide it between your teeth with practiced precision, angling to catch anything left behind from last night's supper. A soft crunch, a sting. You spit over the side and watch a tiny clump disappear into the sea. A gull calls in the distance, but the deck remains otherwise quiet. Floss next. You tie the thread between your fingers and pull gently. The familiar burn returns. It always does. But the pain is cleaner now, less like infection and more like healing. You've learned that flossing with sail thread doesn't just clear out food. It gives you time an extra day, maybe two, before the rot returns. Then the scrub. The powder's running low, just a few pinches of char and ash left at the bottom of the pouch. You make it last, wetting your cloth with a sip of grog and dipping it carefully. The taste is as bad as ever. Bitter dusty, faintly metallic. But your tongue feels less like a battlefield afterward, so you keep doing it. Finally, the lemon peel. You hold it under your tongue and press it against the aching side. It stings just a little, and that's good. The sting means there's still life in the gum. You close your eyes and let the wind do the rest. Around mid-morning, the mood on deck begins to shift. The stillness breaks. Men laugh a little louder. Someone plays a tune on a pipe. The cook has managed to boil cabbage and barley into something resembling porridge. It's warm, at least.
You soak a bit of biscuit in yours and eat slowly, careful with each bite. Storm missed us, someone says. Split south. You nod. Maybe that's why things feel lighter. Or maybe the crew's just happy nobody's getting the key today. The box is gone, locked away again beneath the captain's quarters. For now, you spend your shift coiling rope with a sailor named Emery, tall, quiet, thoughtful, the kind of man who listens more than he speaks. He has all his teeth, oddly enough, white, straight, and complete. You catch yourself staring once. He notices, wondering. You shrug a little. Clean river water, he says simply. Back home. Drank nothing but until I got aboard. You nod. You do anything to keep him that way? He grins. I don't chew the biscuits. You laugh, careful not to jar your molar. By afternoon, the wind picks up again. Sails tighten. Voices rise. There's work to be done, rigging to adjust crates, to shift cannon lines, to inspect. You haul your share sweat soaking through your shirt. But beneath the physical strain is something more dangerous, the faint returning throb of pain. Subtle, small, but you feel it, you try to ignore it. You chew a clove stolen from the cook's herb box. The taste is spicy, numbing. It helps for an hour. Then it returns. You pause by a water barrel, lift the lid, and stare at your reflection. Sunburned face, tired eyes, and a jaw that's beginning to swell again. Only slightly, but you see it. You rub the spot, applying pressure with 2 fingers. It doesn't help. By evening, the ache is back in full. Not as sharp as yesterday, but louder than this morning. You chew on a piece of mint root one of the older men gave you. From my last shore stop, he said. Bitter as sin, but it'll buy you time. It tastes like tree bark soaked in vinegar. You chew anyway. That night, the crew gathers by lantern light near the mainmast. Someone has started telling stories again. Old tales, ghosts of sailors who died in storms, captains who ate their own gold rats that spoke Latin. You sit on a barrel and listen, chin resting in your hand, trying not to look like your skull is humming. Then someone mentions it. The curse of the 7th tooth, a voice says. Lose 6 and you're fine. But the 7th, that's the one that takes you. Laughter ripples, but it's uneasy. You glance around. Several men are counting with their tongues. One looks genuinely pale. Superstition on a pirate ship is more than folklore. It's survival logic, dressed in metaphor. Tooth loss means weakness. Weakness means being left behind. Whether you call it a curse or a consequence doesn't really matter. Historians still argue whether beliefs like these stemmed from actual patterns. Sailors who lost too many teeth did in fact die more often, or if the legends just made the fear easier to manage. Regardless, they persist. On your ship, they matter. Back in your hammock, you check, with your tongue slowly. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. All still there. For now. You chew your clove, press your lemon peel in place, and breathe slowly as the ship rocks you into sleep. Your dreams are strange, floating teeth, storm clouds shaped like molars, a tooth key, chasing you across a heaving deck. You wake twice in the night, not from sound, but from pain. But you're still here, still fighting, still not ready to open that box. By morning, the swelling is visible. Just a little puff at the corner of your jaw, but enough that it changes your face when you catch your reflection in a bucket of rainwater near the galley. You tip your head sideways, gently, pressing the flesh just below your ear. The tissue feels thick, tender, and warm. That molar, your cursed, crabby, sea-racked molar, is making its move. Still, you refuse to go below deck and open the box. You scrape, you floss, you scrub with your biscuit ash powder until your gums tingle like you've kissed hot iron. You chew the last of your clove and roll your lemon peel between sore gums and cheek until it nearly dissolves. The pain doesn't leave, but it recedes slightly, like a cat slinking just out of reach. You feel something dark and clever inside your mouth, waiting for you to lower your guard. Later that morning, a fight breaks out near the gunwale. Two men, newer crew, barely a month at sea, are arguing over a cup of vinegar. You watch one of them throw a punch, lose balance, and collapse against a coil of tarred rope, screaming as his cheek lands hard against a block of wood. He rolls over, spitting teeth. Not one, not two, three. The older men look away. No one helps. Tooth loss is shameful out here, not just because of the pain, but because it signals something worse. Softness, weakness, the creeping failure of the body. You do not admit when you're losing teeth. You do not count them out loud. And you do not, under any circumstances, cry when they fall. The man with the missing teeth is gone by the afternoon. Not dead, just reassigned. Down to the bilge to scoop waste and patch barrels with sour pitch. You hear him humming through swollen gums as you pass later that day. You don't stop. At supper, the cook has softened the biscuits in something resembling broth. It's gray and smells like cabbage left in the sun. You eat slowly, chewing only on the right side. The left is now dangerous territory. The man beside you, an old, sun-withered fellow known only as Locks, leans in and whispers, "You know the captain's got a molar from every man who mutinied. You blink." Sorry, Locks nods, eyes wide. Keeps him in a pouch made of eel skin. Says it's a charm, 1 tooth per trader. You glance toward the helm. The captain stands still as ever, back straight coat, snapping in the wind. His mouth is a mystery, maybe full of gold, maybe full of lies. Locks grins. I saw him bite a man once, took the tip off his ear. You go back to your meal, quietly chewing. The pain has crept into your ear canal now, a hot whisper that pulses every time you swallow. You touch the edge of your jaw again and feel the heat. You wonder what the infection looks like beneath the skin, if it's black or green or the same dull red as a bruise about to turn. By evening, you're back near the railing, scraping with more pressure than you should. The fishbone slips. You nick your gum. The blood is thin and tastes like rust. You suck in air and spit into the sea, wiping your lip with your sleeve. Tom passes by and watches silently. "It's coming for you," he says, nodding at your jaw. Happens to us all. You don't answer. Night falls. You lie awake. The pain is constant now, present in every heartbeat, every breath. You press the lemon peel harder, but it's dry, crumbling to flakes. Useless. You fish out your vinegar flask and rinse again. It burns more than ever before. Like acid, not relief. You cry out quietly, a single gasp clenched between your teeth. Tomorrow you'll need more than powder and prayers. Somewhere on this ship, the tooth key waits, oiled, sharpened, ready. And you are closer to it than you've ever been. You don't sleep. Not really. You drift, float surface now and again to check the pain and then sink back down into half dreams filled with broken teeth and blood on your tongue. In one, the ship tilts sideways, spilling out every man's molars onto the waves like dice. In another, you bite into an orange and it screams.
By the time the first bell rings for morning duty, your hammock is soaked in sweat and your jaw is twice its normal size. You rise anyway. There's no point hiding it now. One side of your face is visibly puffed tight as a stretched sail. The other crew members notice but say nothing. No one jokes, no one teases. You're past that point. You're in the gray zone now between laughter and the key, a space every pirate eventually enters and no one wants to admit they know well. Your steps are careful as you walk to the rail. The light of dawn feels sharp on your skin. The wind is cooler today, and it stings your cheek as you lean over to spit. The saliva comes out pink again, tinged with blood and something else, something sour. You don't want to think about it. You reach for your fishbone, but even scraping feels like a cruelty today. You try anyway. Just a few gentle movements. Enough to say you haven't given up. Enough to tell yourself you still have some control. You skip the floss. The pressure in your jaw is so intense that threading anything between your teeth feels like lighting a fuse. You still go through the motions. You rinse with tepid vinegar from a borrowed flask, grimace through the pain, and hold your last clove between your teeth like a talisman. The lemon peel, long dead, is tucked in your pocket out of habit. It doesn't sting anymore, just sits there. A relic of your resistance. Someone passes you on the way to the main mast. He glances at your face and then quickly looks away. You know what he saw. You've seen it too. Mid-morning you report for duty near the rigging. The captain doesn't look at you, but he assigns you a lighter task, coiling ropes, not hauling them. You appreciate the gesture even if it confirms your suspicion they know. They all do, and no one's surprised. Around noon you drop a coil and squat slowly behind a crate to rest. A younger sailor, maybe no more than 15, approaches you with a wrapped bundle. You blink. "It's mint," he says, pressing it into your hand. "My da used it back home for swelling. Boil it if you can." You thank him, voice thick, through swollen gums. You can't smile, but you nod once, deeply. He leaves without another word. You tuck the bundle into your pouch and rise slowly, hand on your face. The mint will help. Maybe. If not, at least it's something to try. Trying still matters. Historians still debate whether pirates shared medical remedies freely or hoarded them. Most agree the answer was both. In moments like this, on the cusp between fear and surrender, sharing wasn't kindness. It was insurance. Someday, it would be their turn. The pain crests just after sundown. You've been lying on the deck near the bow, pretending to watch the sunset, but really just trying to stay conscious. Each wave of pain now comes with nausea. You can barely open your mouth. Swallowing feels like scraping glass. Even the salt wind burns your eyes. It's time, you know it. The key waits below. The box. You've lasted longer than most. You've resisted longer than you expected. But now there's no choice. It's not bravery anymore. It's necessity. The infection is spreading, and if it reaches your throat, you won't have the strength to scream, let alone sail. You stand. You make your way down the narrow stair to the lower hold hand, pressed to the wood eyes, scanning the dark. At the far end of the corridor, the quartermaster waits, seated near a lantern, polishing a long, slender blade. He sees you. Doesn't speak. Just gestures to the box beside him. You kneel. Your heart beats like it wants to escape your chest. The air smells like salt, sweat, and fear. He opens the box. The key glints dully in the lantern light, hooked heavy, cruel. You swallow. He holds it up. "You ready?" he asks.
You nod, barely. Two crewmates step forward and steady your shoulders. Open, the quartermaster says. You do, and everything after that is sensation, noises you can't place, light that bends and blurs, hands gripping you tight, the hot flash of metal meeting bone. You feel the twist. You hear the crunch. You scream, but it's distant, like someone else's voice echoing down a hallway you once walked through. And then it's done. You slump back, chest heaving, face slick with sweat and tears. The quartermaster holds up the tooth. Your tooth, yellowed, root dark, split down one side. It was dying. You feel something between triumph and grief as you look at it. He places it on a cloth. Keep it, he says. You nod. They help you to a bench. Someone pours rum down your throat. It burns, but it's clean. And more than anything, you feel the absence, the hole in your mouth where the pain lived, and it's quiet now, empty, peaceful. You made it. You finally gave in, and you survived. You wake in a fog, not the gentle kind that lifts with the morning light, but a heavy, rum-soaked mist that clings to your skull and weighs down every blink. Your body is stiff, your back aches from the bench, and your jaw feels like someone took a hammer to it, then lit the bruises on fire for good measure. But somehow you're alive. And the pain has changed. It's not gone. Far from it. But it's quieter now. It pulses differently. Not sharp and urgent, but low and distant, like thunder echoing far out to sea. You move your tongue to the left side of your mouth and find the hollow where the tooth used to be. The gum is tender, swollen, raw, but the source of agony, the twisted, infected core of it all, is finally gone. You breathe deeply and sit up. The quartermaster is nearby, nursing his own mug of something steaming. He doesn't look at you, just nods. That's enough. You're not the first sailor he's watched squirm and scream under the hook of the tooth key, and you won't be the last. But you're on the other side now. That earns you a kind of respect. Silent, but real. You stand, wobble slightly, then find your footing. Everything hurts. Your jaw is wrapped in linen someone must have tied while you were passed out. A crude poultice, probably soaked in rum and herbs, is tucked against your cheek. You smell mint clove and something vaguely medicinal. It stings a little, but the cold helps. You keep it there. As you climb the stairs back to the main deck, you brace yourself for what comes next. The looks, the nods, the quiet acknowledgement. Because once you've been to the box, everyone knows. And you're different now. Not weaker, not stronger, just changed. You step into the morning sun, blinking as the light floods your eyes. The wind has picked up slightly, carrying with it the scent of salt and old canvas. The sails flap softly, the ocean glitters. Life somehow goes on. You lean against the railing and let your hands rest on the wood. It feels solid, reliable. You take a slow breath and press your fingers to your jaw. The pain flares, but it's manageable. You're tender, you're stitched together, but you're still here. Across the deck, Greasy Tom raises a tin cup in your direction. Made it through, he calls. Still got your tongue. You raise a thumb in reply. Then you'll do fine, he chuckles. The others don't say much. They just watch. Some with pity, some with understanding, some with that faraway stare of men counting their own teeth in silence. Later that morning, you're given light duty, polishing brass, checking the rope stores. Nothing that requires chewing, hauling, or shouting. You're grateful. Every heartbeat still thumps through your jaw, like the echo of a war drum. But you keep going. That's what matters. Lunch is soup,
thin, salty, mostly broth, but it's warm and it doesn't demand biting. You sip slowly, holding the spoon with shaking hands. The heat soothes. Your stomach churns, but you keep the soup down. That's another win. The ship rocks gently through midday. You sit near the bow and watch the waves. The sea has become your companion again, not your enemy. There's something comforting in its rhythm, something familiar. The young boy from earlier, he of the mint bundle, sits beside you, handing over a small strip of clean linen.
You nod your thanks and switch out your bandage. It's soaked through. Red, not alarming, just proof that the healing has begun. He leans in and whispers, "Did it hurt?" You nod. He swallows. A lot. You pause. Yes, but less than dying. He thinks about that, then stands and walks away. You don't blame him. By late afternoon, the deck is alive again. Chatter returns. The hum of tasks and the clank of tools replaces the silence of the morning. You take a walk along the perimeter just to feel the sun on your back and the wood beneath your feet. You've joined a new club now. Not a prestigious one, not the kind anyone wants to be in, but one that's understood. Those who've been to the edge of pain, faced the key, and walked away with something missing, but something else unspoken gained. That evening during mess, someone passes you a small scrap of citrus, orange, not lemon. You blink. Found it in the last barrel, the man says. Figured you could use it more than me. You chew it slowly, carefully, letting the juice flood your mouth. It stings the wound, but it tastes like heaven. Bright, fresh, alive. You swallow the pulp and sit back. You made it. Not all the way, not back to perfect, but forward. Tomorrow maybe you'll try talking more. Maybe you'll help someone else clean their teeth. Maybe you'll even carve a new fishbone scraper. But tonight you just rest. The next morning brings something unexpected. Peace. Not silence, not ease, just a strange stillness in your jaw, as if your body has finally called a truce. You still hurt their swelling sure, and the dull bruised throb of flesh healing around a hole, but it's manageable. You roll your jaw, gently test the limits. There's tightness, there's stiffness, but no new screaming pain. You exhale through your nose, steady and calm. You sit up slowly, swing your legs from the hammock, and take stock. The bandage around your face is loosened in the night. You untie it, shake it free, and replace it with fresh cloth from your bundle. You've been saving that strip for the moment you could use it with pride. This is that morning. Your kit feels lighter now, literally and figuratively. There's no need for the lemon peel anymore. It's shriveled into uselessness. You toss it overboard and watch it float for a second before sinking beneath the waves. A fitting end to a talisman that served you well. You reach for your scraper not out of necessity but habit. You pass the bone lightly over your remaining molars, noting with a little satisfaction that nothing hurts. There's a weird kind of pleasure in that. You spit and floss with a bit of thread, and this time there's no blood, no searing jolt. Just the rhythmic motion of care. For the first time in weeks, your mouth doesn't feel like a battlefield. You climb the steps to the main deck and emerge into morning light. A gull cries overhead. The breeze carries the scent of salt and something sharp, maybe smoked fish. The world feels alive in a different way now, like you're finally part of it again, instead of fighting to survive it. The crew is already busy. Ropes coil, buckets scrub, sails ripple and pop with wind. You join them, hauling a canvas roll with your left arm,
careful still not to jar your healing jaw. Nobody stares, nobody comments. You're just another sailor again. That's a blessing. You hear whispers, though. Not about you this time. About Barker. He's next. You glance across the deck and spot him near the cannon hold. He's hunched. His face is swollen. One eye droops from the pressure. He hasn't spoken since yesterday. And now he moves slowly, like each step is measured against a scale of pain only he understands. You know that scale. You've lived on it. At midday, the box comes out. You stop what you're doing. Everything slows. No one needs to announce it. The quartermaster opens it beneath the awning, lays the tooth key out on its cloth, and waits. Barker doesn't fight. He steps forward, jaw-wrapped, mouth trembling, and kneels beside the crate. He knows what's coming. Everyone does. The twist comes quickly. So does the scream. You don't flinch. You watch. Because now you know something the others don't, not just how it feels, but how it heals. Later you find Barker seated alone, cradling his chin. He doesn't speak. Just looks up as you sit beside him and hand over a strip of cloth soaked in clove water. He presses it to his cheek. His hand shakes. You say nothing. This is how pirates pass knowledge, quietly, piece by piece, in acts of care so small they almost vanish beneath the sound of sails and footsteps. But they matter. That night the mood on the ship softens. The sea is calm. Lanterns sway gently in their hooks. Someone hums an old tune low and sweet, the kind that speaks of home. You lie in your hammock and feel your body settling again. Not just healing, but changing. You run your tongue across your teeth, fewer than before, but still enough. Historians still debate whether dental rituals aboard pirate ships were born from shared suffering or shared wisdom. Most likely both. But out here you've learned that knowledge doesn't come in books, it comes in bruises and broken molars and passing down scraps of mint and slivers of copper. Before sleep, you reach for your kit again. You pull out the scraper and lay it beside you, not out of fear, but memory. You'll still use it in the morning. Still floss, still rinse. But now it's different. It's not about fighting death anymore. It's about keeping what's left alive. You close your eyes, not because the pain is gone, but because you've stopped fearing its return. The day begins quietly, and for the first time in weeks, the quiet doesn't feel threatening. You wake slowly, your jaw stiff, but calm the bruising soreness around your cheek, already fading into something that feels more like memory than suffering. There's no sharp edge to your pain now, just the kind of soreness that lets you know your body is doing its work. Healing, mending. You stretch your arms above your head and sit up in your hammock, testing your jaw with small, cautious movements. No sudden stab, no metallic taste of blood, just tension like an old door hinge that needs oil. You'll take it. Your pouch, the one that used to carry your entire tooth care survival kit, still hangs on the peg beside your hammock. You untie it and inspect the contents. The sail thread is worn thin. Your fishbone scraper is nearly polished smooth. The cloth for your powder is stained dark from dozens of vinegar scrubs. And the pouch of ash and biscuit tooth powder is nearly empty. You tuck everything back in carefully. Not out of habit anymore, but respect. Up on deck, the sea has taken on that lazy, rolling calm that only comes after a night of wind and rain. The storm passed without incident, just a few snapped lines and one cracked lantern. Nothing serious. You step out into the morning air and feel it hit your face fresh, briny, soft.
Your jaw aches slightly in the breeze, but it's no longer the kind of ache that demands anything. It simply is. The crew is quieter than usual. Some are still resting after being on night watch. Others are seated along the rail, cleaning tools, stitching sails, rewrapping cord. You make your way to the galley where a pot of fish broth steams gently over a fire. The cook glances up as you approach. You eating again? You nod. He ladles out a small tin bowl and slides it your way. Don't chew too proud. You smirk with one side of your mouth, the working side. The broth is good. Salty, fishy, but warm and soft. It slides past the hole where your tooth once lived without too much complaint. You eat slowly, careful not to let anything drift to the bad side. That'll take more time. But for now, you're not hungry anymore. That's a kind of miracle on its own. Across the deck, you spot Barker again. He's moving better today, still wrapped up like a jaw-mummified saint, but upright and stable. He's coiling rope without supervision, even barking orders at one of the younger deckhands who's fumbling a knot. You walk over. Doing better, you ask. He winces a bit as he turns. As long as no one talks too funny or serves hardtack. You laugh. Carefully. Still feels strange, he continues. Like there's a hole in my head that shouldn't be empty. There is, you say. But it stops feeling that way. He nods slowly. That you're first, you think back. Yeah. And hopefully my last. He raises an eyebrow. You believe that you pause, then shake your head. Not really. By noon, the sky turns overcast. The wind picks up slightly, but nothing alarming. You help tighten sail lines and secure a few crates near the foredeck. It's the kind of work that doesn't jostle your jaw too much. You feel the throb return briefly, a low heartbeat under the skin, but it fades quickly. That's the difference now. The pain no longer feels like a rising tide. It comes. It goes. You're learning to ride it. After your shift, you settle into a shaded corner with a length of rope and begin carving a new scraper, this time from a bit of driftwood you pocketed days ago. Your old fishbone is worn too thin, and you figure you might as well be ready, just in case. A younger sailor watches you from a few feet away. You still cleaning your teeth? He asks, skeptical. Every morning you reply. Even after the key, especially after. He chews on that for a moment, figuratively, you hope, and then scoots a little closer. What do you use? You hold up the bone, then the thread, then the empty powder pouch. Whatever I've got. Does it work? You shrug. Well, I only lost one so far. That seems to impress him. Or scare him. He doesn't say which. By early evening, you've handed off the new scraper to another sailor, an older man who's been eyeing yours for a week now, but hadn't worked up the nerve to ask. You don't need a second one. Not yet. And if things go well, not for a long time. Later, as the sun begins to dip and the sky turns a soft blend of lavender and gray, the quartermaster calls for a deck inspection. You line up like everyone else. Boots polished, belt straight, teeth. Well, teeth mostly intact. He walks down the row, checking fingernails, cuffs, blade edges. When he gets to you, he pauses. Jaw healing. Let's see. You open your mouth carefully. He peers in, then grunts. Good. No fevero. He nods and moves on. That's it. No ceremony. No congratulations. Just a quiet acknowledgement that you've crossed through something and come out the other side. You return to your hammock after dark. The lanterns swing gently in the breeze. A few men hum below deck. One of them scrapes something bone or wood, it's hard to say. A lullaby for a ship full of ghosts and teeth and men who are too stubborn to die.
You sit for a while, unrolling your pouch, laying out your tools. Not out of fear, not out of habit, but because you've earned this ritual now. It's yours. You scrape, you rinse, you floss, and when it's done, you fold the cloth neatly and tuck it away. You lie back and close your eyes. This is what it means to survive out here, not to be untouched by pain, but to refuse to surrender to it, to hold your head high, even with a tooth missing and a mouth that still tastes faintly of ash and iron. Tomorrow will come, and you'll meet it with clean teeth. You wake with the distinct sensation that something is missing, and for once, that's a good thing. No throbbing beneath your cheekbone, no dull echo in your jaw, no slow drumbeat of pressure rising with every heartbeat. Just a tender silence. You move your tongue around your mouth cautiously at first, checking the edges of your healing gum. There's still a hollow where the molar used to be, of course, and the tissue is soft, a little raw, but it's closed now mostly. No fresh blood, no sharp nerves exposed to air. It's almost dare you think it comfortable. You sit up in your hammock, stretch your back, and let the sway of the ship greet your spine. The first mate's already barking orders above deck, and the smell of cooked oats wafts faintly through the floorboards. A good start. At your usual spot, near the forward railing, you go through the motions slower now, more like ritual than emergency. You scrape with your newly carved driftwood pick, not because you have to, but because it's your way of marking the day. The friction against your back teeth is rough, but clean. You rinse with plain water swish until your cheeks burn just a little and spit overboard. No blood this time. You floss with sail thread. Slide it gently between the teeth that remain. You've counted them, every one. 4 fewer than you had when you boarded the ship. 1 lost to a biscuit, 1 to infection, and 2 to the key. Yes, you lied. The tooth you let them take last week wasn't your first. The first one came out in the dark on another voyage years ago. It had cracked on a bit of bone in a stew, then rotted silently until it simply fell from your mouth one morning. You'd swallowed it without noticing. It was easier that way. You didn't tell anyone then, you don't talk about it now, but still you remember. And here you are. You look up as Barker joins you at the rail. He doesn't say anything at first, just leans on the beam, watching the sun rise behind the mainsail. How's it feel, he asks after a while. You glance over. Clean. He chuckles softly. That's a word I haven't heard in a while. You both stand there a while longer, letting the wind carry your silence across the waves. After some time, Barker pulls out his own bone pick, sharpened to a neat curve, and begins scraping between his remaining front teeth. He winces once, swears under his breath. You think we'll ever stop doing this? He asks. You consider it? No, you say. But one day we'll do it without thinking. He nods. Habit's just pain that made peace with time. You don't know where he got that, but it feels right. Later, you're assigned to inspect rope bundles along the quarterdeck. The work is easy, unwind check for rot rewrap. Your jaw doesn't protest anymore, and you find yourself humming as you move. The tune is old. You don't know where you learned it, but it fits. At lunch, someone passes you a piece of dried fruit, apple maybe, or pear. It's tough, but not impossible. You chew slowly, testing each bite. It's the first real texture you've handled in over a week. It feels strange in your mouth, like something that should have been forbidden, but you finish it without pain. Afterward, a young sailor, barely 15,
approaches you, eyes darting nervously. You're the one who used the key last week, right? You nod. He hesitates. How'd you know it was time? You glance toward the quartermaster's cabin where the key is kept behind a locked chest. When it hurt more to wait, you say? The boy nods and slips away. You didn't ask what's going on in his mouth. You don't have to. That evening during rest hour, you and a few others gather near the mainmast. Someone's carved a little face into a bit of driftwood, big mouth, no teeth. It becomes the crew's new mascot. They name it Captain Chewy. Someone sticks it in a rum bottle. Everyone laughs. You laugh too. Freely this time. That night, lying in your hammock, you touch your cheek without flinching. You think about the tools you've built, your scraper, your flosser, your powder recipe. You think about the routines, the blood, the vinegar, the quiet trades for lemon peel. You think about all the ways you've kept yourself whole, even when your mouth was falling apart. And then you think about the others, about the ones who don't make it to the key in time, the ones who die from fevers, from abscesses, from a slow death that starts behind a molar and ends with a body sewn into sailcloth and tipped into the sea. That was nearly you, but not this time. You survived the mouth's betrayal. You learned its language. You beat the rot with bone and ash and stubbornness. You close your eyes, not because you're tired, but because you've earned the right to rest. You wake slowly, but not because you're in pain. The ache is gone now, or at least tucked deep enough inside your jaw that it no longer demands attention. What stirs you today isn't suffering, it's habit. The creak of planks above the faint scrape of a boot heel, the smell of salt-soaked canvas baking under a rising sun. These things mean morning, and morning means cleaning. Even now, especially now. You sit up in your hammock and roll your neck side to side. Your jaw feels like a clenched fist that's finally started to loosen. The tightness is still there, but it's no longer angry. It's the quiet stiffness of a body that remembers pain, not one that still lives inside it. You reach for your pouch, the same one you've been carrying for weeks, stitched from sailcloth and stained with vinegar, sweat, and time. You unroll it carefully. Inside your scraper, driftwood, sanded thin. Your floss, still sail thread, still effective. Your last pinch of powder, mostly ash by now. And a few dried mint leaves, browned but fragrant. Gifted by the boy with the clove pouch 3 days back. You begin. The scraper first, always. You pass it gently between your back teeth, checking for grit, fishing out any leftover biscuit from the night before. There's very little today. A sign that you chewed with care, that your chewing has perhaps improved. You rinse your mouth with water, just water. You haven't needed vinegar for several days. And your tongue no longer finds sharp edges when it wanders. The flossing is easier now. No bleeding, no flinching. You pull the thread slowly through each space, the tug-tug of tension familiar and oddly satisfying. You catch yourself humming softly, a tune with no words. It sounds like calm. When you're done, you fold the cloth back over your tools and rise to greet the morning. On deck, the crew is already in motion. The storm from 2 nights ago ripped a corner from the foresail and shook loose half a barrel of salted fish. Repairs are underway. You offer your hands, and the boatswain waves you toward the rigging. You're back to full duty now, not because someone said so, but because you stepped up and no one questioned it. As you knot and coil and test tension with your palms, you glance across the deck. Barker is working near the helm jaw,
still swaddled in linen. He moves slowly but with resolve. You recognize that gait. You walked the same way 2 weeks ago. Every step a bargain, every breath a quiet test. He catches your eye and you trade a nod. There's a new boy too. Barely 16, wiry, pale, and far too quiet. He joined at the last port. You haven't spoken much, but this morning he hovers a little closer, eyeing your pouch as you pack it away. Is that the scraper? He finally asks. You pause. One of them. Does it help you consider your answer? It doesn't cure anything you say, but it keeps the rot slow, gives you time to make decisions before they're made for you. He nods. I think I've got something back here. He taps the side of his jaw with one knuckle.
You study his face. There's no swelling yet, but his left cheek seems stiff. His tongue rests oddly in his mouth, as if it's avoiding a place that hurts. Take this, you say, and hand him your spare. Use it every day, rinse after. He takes it like a weapon, not a gift. You can tell he's scared. You were too. Later, you're assigned to barrel duty, checking for leaks, rotating the salted meat. You use the time to think. Not about pain this time, but about what it means to endure something invisible. The crew jokes about scars. They compare wounds like medals. But there are no bragging rights for infected teeth, no applause for surviving a molar extraction, only silence, only routine, only those early morning rituals repeated over and over like whispers to a God no one believes in. You remember what it was like before the pain started. Back when you didn't scrape, didn't rinse, didn't floss with thread. You remember what it cost you to learn, and now it's instinct. At mid-shift break, you find a shaded spot near the mast and take out your scraper again. Not because it's needed, but because it centers you. Around you, others are doing the same. You've noticed it more lately. Quiet little pockets of men tending their mouths in the stillness between storms and orders. Some use splinters, some copper wire. One man has fashioned a tongue scraper from the tip of a broken spoon. You're not the only one anymore. By sunset, the sea has gone flat. The wind hangs low and slow. The ship barely creaks. It's the kind of evening that feels like a held breath. Nothing urgent, but heavy with possibility. You sit along the railing with a few others, sipping warm broth. Barker is there. So is the new boy now, with his jaw wrapped. Early signs caught in time. The boy says nothing, just flosses quietly in the fading light. Barker leans over and says he'll be all right. You nod. We all will. You look out over the water. The moon rises slow, casting silver over everything. It hits the sail, your knuckles, the rim of your pouch. You run your tongue across your teeth, still there. Still yours. Still clean. It's strange you think how something as small as a molar can bring you to your knees, and yet here you are standing. You've lost teeth, yes, but not time, not self. This routine, this act of carving out health in a world built for decay, that's your rebellion. That's your legacy. You rise and head below deck, pouch in hand, already thinking about tomorrow's scrape, tomorrow's rinse, tomorrow's reminder that you've survived. The morning begins not with pain, but with memory. You wake with your hand resting against your cheek, not out of habit, but as if checking to be sure the pain is still gone. The absence of it has become its own kind of presence, an echo of suffering so familiar that its silence now feels like a sound. You open your eyes, slowly flex your jaw, and bite down gently. No stabbing, no fire, just a little tension and a slight tightness in your neck, like a shadow you haven't fully shaken off. You sit up, swing your legs over the edge of the hammock, and breathe.
Another day, you reach for your kit, the old cloth pouch that's traveled with you through every step of this strange journey. You unwrap it with care. Your scraper still smells faintly of salt and clove. Your thread has been changed out for a new, stronger piece of rigging fiber you found fraying near the mizzenmast. Your ash powder is low, but you've mixed it with a pinch of dried mint from the galley. You begin your routine in silence. This time, no flinching. You scrape, you floss, you rinse, clean. Above deck, the sky is clear, the wind soft and steady. The ship creaks like it's settling into old age. You walk the length of the planks with ease, your stride stronger, jaw relaxed. No one watches you now. You're not the one who screamed under the quay. You're just a sailor, another body among the many. That's how you prefer it. You're assigned to loading duty for the stern hold dried goods mostly, and a few casks of rum still sealed from the last port. As you lift and stack, you see Barker pass by. His bandage is gone. His jaw is still a little swollen, but he smiles now when he speaks. "Looks like we've made it to the other side," he says, pausing beside a barrel. "For now," you reply. He nods and slaps the wood. "Until the next bad biscuit." You both chuckle. After lunch, the crew gathers to clean the lower deck. Buckets of soapy seawater slosh across the timbers. Brushes scrape and slosh. You kneel beside a younger boy, maybe 13, who's cleaning with more fervor than skill. His face is pale. His cheeks are puffed slightly. "You see the signs. You hurtin', you ask." He shrugs, not meeting your eye. "Just sore." You reach into your pocket and hand him a bit of ash powder wrapped in a cloth scrap. "Try it tonight. Scrub gentle. Rinse after." He takes it like it's gold. "You used the key, didn't you?" he asks. You nod. "Did it work?" "It worked," you say. "But it's better not to need it." He doesn't speak again, but he tucks the powder into his belt and keeps scrubbing. That night, after the ship has gone still and the lanterns burn low, the air is heavy with the scent of seawater and candle wax. You sit beneath the forward rail with Barker and two others sharing a flask of something dark and sharp. The stars are thick above like dust scattered across velvet. Someone starts telling a story, a tale of a sailor who swore by cinnamon oil, used to rub it into his gums until he passed out. Another man claims he once knew a surgeon who used live leeches to draw infection from the jaw. You wince at that one. You believe that Barker asks. "No," you reply. "But I've believed worse." Someone asks if any of you have kept your teeth after extraction. You nod. So does Barker. "They feel like something earned," you say. "They feel like something lost," one of the others mutters. You look down at your hands, remembering the moment they held your cracked, molar, bloody, sharp-edged, still hot from your own body. You wonder what it means to carry pain outside of you, to hold it, name it, and let it go. Later, as the others drift away, you remain seated, cleaning your scraper under the moonlight. Your hands move slowly, gently, polishing the tip with a strip of sailcloth. You no longer clean your teeth out of fear. You do it because you can, because this ritual now belongs to you. You glance up and see the boy from earlier. He's sitting alone, turning the cloth-wrapped powder over in his hands. His face is tight. He sees you watching and raises it slightly as if to ask, "Will this really work?" You nod once. He disappears below. Back in your hammock, you feel something like pride. Not vanity, not superiority, just the quiet knowledge that you have become part of something larger than your own pain.
You carry a ritual now passed hand to hand, mouth to mouth. A legacy built not in books, but in bone and vinegar and ash. You press your fingers to your jaw one last time. No heat, no swelling, no fear. Tomorrow you'll wake and scrape and rinse again, and you'll be ready if someone else needs help. The day begins with wind sharp, sudden, the kind that whistles through the rigging before anyone's fully awake. It rattles loose, buckets, slaps ropes against the mast, and sends a ripple across the sails that makes the whole ship shudder like it's stretching after a bad dream. You rise from your hammock, easily instinct guiding you before thought arrives. Your hand reaches for your pouch. You unroll the cloth on your lap and lay out each item: scraper, thread, powder, and a small strip of linen for wiping it all clean. You sit on the edge of the hammock and begin the ritual. You've done this every day since the key. Maybe before that too, but it feels more sacred now. You pass the scraper gently across your molars, careful near the gap that's still tender. No more bleeding, no more cracking nerves, just the steady rhythm of control, of claiming back something that once rebelled. You floss slowly, feeling the glide of thread through clean teeth. You swish water, not vinegar. You haven't needed vinegar for a while now. Above deck, the crew is already on edge. The wind is changing, the waves are lifting. Something's coming. You can feel it in the air, and so can everyone else. You pocket your tools and head up into the morning light, squinting against a sudden gust that carries sea spray into your face like needles. Orders fly. Secure the barrels, tighten the sail lines, double the knots. You fall into step without needing to be told. While hauling rope near the stern, you spot the boy again, jaw still bandaged, face paler than usual. He's walking slower, one hand hovering near his cheek. You break away and intercept him. You clean today, you ask. He shakes his head. Didn't sleep much? It's worse. You reach into your belt and pull out your scraper. Use this. After breakfast, you need to keep the infection from coming back. He hesitates. It's already back. You look him over. The swelling is sharper now, and his eye is watering slightly, not from weather. You might need the key. He closes his eyes. I don't want it. Nobody does, you say. He nods and disappears into the crowd. Later, during a break between shifts, Barker finds you coiling rope near the midship hatch. He sits beside you with a grunt. You think the boy'll go through with it, he asks. Maybe. First time's always the worst. You nod. You both know it's not always the last either. Barker pulls something from his coat pocket, a tooth yellowed and cracked. Found it this morning, he says. Under my mat. Yours? He shakes his head. Too small. Must have been dropped. Or lost. You take it from him, turn it in your fingers. Looks like a front. He wraps it back in cloth. I'll give it to the quartermaster. Let him add it to the jar. You've heard about the jar. Supposedly, the quartermaster keeps a sealed vessel full of the worst teeth pulled on this ship, cracked, blackened, even gold-capped. Some say it's a warning. Others say it's a talisman. You've never seen it, but you don't doubt it exists. As the afternoon rolls in, so does the storm. Rain whips sideways across the deck, and the crew ties everything down, with hands stiff from salt. You're sent to the lower galley to help move the food crates away from the leaking starboard wall. You work beside 3 other men, none of whom speak much. The storm makes everyone quiet. You feel your tooth pouch shift as you lift a crate. You've tied it tighter to your belt now, more secure. Like a sailor might tie a charm, which in a way it is. Back on deck, the storm peaks. Rain pours. Wind howls. The sails scream. You cling to the mast rope while two others fasten the rigging. Lightning forks into the sea. Thunder follows, shaking the planks beneath your boots. And then just as suddenly, it stops. By evening, the water's calm again. Clouds clear. The sun dips below the horizon in a blaze of orange and bruised purple. You sit by the gunwale panting, soaked to the bone, jaw sore from clenching your teeth. During the worst of the gusts, the boy finds you again. His face is blotchy. His eyes are rimmed with red. "I want to go," he says. You nod. "You'll stay, I'll stay." You walk him to the quartermaster's quarters. He knocks. The box appears. The key gleams. He kneels. You place a hand on his shoulder. He screams once just like you did, and then it's over. Later, back in your hammock, you roll your scraper in its cloth. Wipe it clean. Dry your thread. Breathe. You've helped another one through. And that means something. Tomorrow you'll clean your teeth again. You'll train another sailor how to floss. You'll hand out mint if you find it, trade for vinegar if needed, and pass on the tools. The knowledge, the calm, because pain is part of the sea, but so is survival, and now so are you. The sea is quiet today, not still, never still, but slow, lazy, like an old animal stretching its limbs after a long night of wind and work. The sun crests over the horizon without urgency. The sails hang with ease. The crew moves with that particular rhythm born of exhaustion and repetition, the kind that doesn't need shouting, doesn't demand thought. Everyone just knows. You wake before most of them. You always do now. There's a comfort to it, to being up before the noise begins. It gives you space, gives you time. You stretch your legs, roll your jaw once and feel nothing sharp, nothing hot. Just a dull reminder that the healing is still happening under the surface. You sit upright and reach for your kit. You unwrap the cloth like it's sacred. In a way it is. The tools within have saved you. They've given you something you never expected to find on a pirate ship control. The scraper is smooth in your hand, worn from weeks of use. The thread is fresh. You replaced it yesterday. Unraveling a bit of rope from the corner of an old sail. The powder is running low again, but you still have enough for this morning. You begin your ritual, not out of fear anymore, but gratitude. Scrape, floss, rinse, breathe. No blood. You pack your pouch, tie it to your belt, and climb above deck. The light up here is soft, golden, with a salty breeze that feels almost kind. The crew greets you with nods, and you return them. No one talks much about pain anymore, but they notice, they remember. You see it in the way they check their jaws, in the way they guard their cheeks when biting. They've learned, and you've helped teach them. You help with sail checks, then assist the galley boy in cleaning the mess pans. While you scrub, he leans close and whispers, "I haven't needed the clove in 3 days." You smile, means it's working. He nods, then pulls a tooth from his pocket, smooth white root, intact. Came out on its own. No key, just slid loose. You hold it in your palm and examine it. That's a lucky one. He beams, wraps it again, and tucks it into his sleeve like a coin. By midday, the deck hums with small stories. One sailor claims he's learned to clean his mouth with seawater and sand. Another swears by chewing pine bark. The boy who screamed 2 nights ago under the quay is walking upright again, bandage gone, chewing slowly but confidently. Progress in all directions. You sit with Barker in the shade near the main mast. He's carving a new flosser from an old spoon, flattening and curling it with the edge of his belt knife. Think this one'll do better, he says. You nod. Looks clean. He pauses. You ever think about how many of us might have died from a tooth? You glance up. Before the key, before the scraping, before we started trading mint and thread. You consider it, then nod. A lot. He chuckles. We're pirates. We kill with blades and fall to biscuits. That evening, a new sailor comes aboard from a small skiff rowed out by locals. He's tall, missing 3 fingers, and grins with all his teeth, though you spot the telltale puff at the side of his jaw. He'll need help soon. You make a mental note to check on him in the morning. You spend the sunset scraping again. Not for necessity now, but for practice. For peace. The routine calms you, reminds you of how far you've come, of how your body has learned to trust your hands. The quartermaster stops by and watches you for a moment. You've started something, he says. You pause. Look around, he continues. Half the crew's doing it now, flossing, scraping, rinsing. You nod slowly. I suppose I have. He chuckles. Might be the only clean thing on this whole damned ship. You both laugh. That night after supper, the crew gathers for a rare moment of quiet. No storms, no shouts. Just the sound of waves and the creak of a tired vessel gliding through salt and time. You lie in your hammock and think about the first days. The pain, the blood, the fear of the key, the fear of even admitting you were hurting. And then you think of today, of a ship where men whisper tips about rinsing, where mint leaves are traded like coins, where scraped bone tools are carved with care. You reach into your pouch and pull out your oldest scraper. The first one. It's cracked, now splintering, but you hold it in your palm like a relic. You survived. And more than that, you helped others do the same. You close your eyes as the ship rocks gently beneath you. You sleep easily now because your mouth is clean, your pain has passed, and tomorrow someone else will wake early and scrape. Let your body soften now. You've come to the end of this strange, salt-soaked tale, one, not of treasure or glory, but of something smaller, more personal. A fight not with swords, but with time, with pain, with the tiny hidden rot that tried to steal your strength, one cracked tooth at a time. But now as you lie in your own stillness, listening to the slow roll of imagined waves and the creak of unseen timbers, know this: you've already faced the worst of it. There's a silence that follows survival, a hush where agony once lived, and in that quiet something else begins to grow ritual wisdom, calm. You've scraped away what hurt you. You've rinsed the bitterness, and now you rest in the clean peace of what remains. So loosen your jaw, unclench, let your tongue settle in the quiet dark of your mouth. Breathe in, breathe out. Let the slow rhythm of the sea carry you into dreams where no tooth ever breaks and no storm ever comes too soon. You're safe now. You're clean. You're free. Good night.